Speaker, while I'm speaking on this bill, I just want to make sure one thing is crystal clear. I have no doubt that the true meaning of this bill will be hijacked by someone within and outside this place. And I'm fully aware when the environment is discussed, my election of the hunter comes into discussion because of the fact that our main industry is the coal mining industry. But make no mistake, Speaker, I always have and I always will back the coal mining industry and workers 100%.
When I call the honourable member for Hunter.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise to speak on the Nature Positive Bill 2024. When we on this side of the House commit to something, we commit fully. So when we came to the last election promising a strong national independent environmental protection agency, we intended to deliver that. Today we are delivering exactly that, an agency aimed at protecting the environment that we all live in and rely upon, and one that has teeth. We are hard at work creating a nature-positive Australia. We are delivering programs, policies and actions. And it's in everyone's interest to look after the environment. I don't see it as a political issue. I see it as something that we should just do and we should be able to find common ground on all sides of politics. We all live in the same environment and we all should be okay with the idea of trying to make sure that we look after it as best as we possibly can. Because the better we look after the environment around us, the better we look after ourselves. But it's easy to think laws aimed at protecting the environment are political, especially when we have the Leader of the Opposition wanting to tear down these laws. But what gets forgotten is that some of these laws were introduced by a member of his own party, the former Prime Minister, John Howard. So I do still hold hope that the two sides of this House can come together again and be on the same page when it comes to protecting the environment. Supporting this bill would be a very good start. When looking at this bill, there are four very clear and straightforward questions to answer. Do you want an independent Environment Protection Agency or not? Do you want to make sure that we have the best possible data in front of us so that we can be better informed to make environmental decisions or not? Do you want our environmental laws to actually be effective by having tougher penalties for those breaking these laws or not? Do you want Australia to be a world leader, the first place in the world to put a definition of nature positive in legislation or not? The new body will be known as Environmental Protection Australia, EPA. EPA will work with Environmental Information Australia to make sure that our environmental laws are being complied with. Because what's the point of having any law if there's nobody to make sure that it's being followed? What's the point of doing anything to protect our environment if what's being written in legislation is not being followed through with? We already have our environmental goal, like protecting 30% of our land and oceans by 2030. We've had those debates and they are set in legislation, which has passed both houses. While we may not have all agreed, the debate is over. It would be a waste of our time and resources to have had these discussions and set these targets, but not make sure we have the bodies in place to help us meet them. Everybody agrees that we have in place now is not good enough. Everybody agrees that the current regulatory system just doesn't work. Without these changes, setting our goals and targets will have been a waste of time because our regulatory system doesn't work. We won't achieve anything. We want to fix our laws so they're less bureaucratic and provide more certainty for businesses. We've already made so much progress in this area, but the next step is the legislation. This stage of our reforms will deliver strong environmental powers, fast environmental approvals, more environment information and greater transparency. These are big steps forward for the environment and also for business. The EPA is a tool that is going to allow us to do this. The EPA is Australia's first National Independent Environment Protection Agency, and will have strong new powers and penalties to better protect nature. The outcome of this is that EPA would administer Australia's national environmental laws to better protect our environment and make faster, better decisions by being charged with delivering accountable, effective, outcome-focused and transparent environmental regulatory decision-making. EPA will be responsible for a wide range of activities under Australia's environmental laws, including in relation to recycling and waste exports, hazardous waste, wildlife trade, sea dumping, ozone protection, underwater cultural heritage and air quality. There are all areas that I think everyone can agree are worth protecting, regardless of what side of politics you're on. There is nothing political about better looking after our land and our sea. And the fact is that we need to do a better job at looking after both. The ineffectiveness of our current regulatory framework was made clear when the government's offset audits found that 1 in 7 projects using environmental offsets under our environmental laws had either clearly or potentially breached their approval conditions. Again, I have to ask, what is the point of setting conditions or going through the approval process if the conditions set can just be ignored without any consequence? This is supported by the Samuel Review into Australia's environmental laws, which found that regulatory is not fulfilling the necessary function. Speaker, while I'm speaking on this bill, I just want to make sure one thing is crystal clear. I have no doubt that the true meaning of this bill will be hijacked by someone within and outside this place. And I'm fully aware when the environment is discussed, my election of the Hunter comes into discussion because of the fact that our main industry is the coal mining industry. But make no mistake, Speaker, I always have and I always will back the coal mining industry and workers 100%. Regardless of what spin you may hear, coal is going nowhere anytime soon. It will be here for decades to come. And while people want to buy our coal, we will always supply them our coal in the export market as well. Just because we introduce a piece of legislation aimed at protecting the environment and making better decisions, it does not have to impact the mining industry. There will still be coal mining in the Hunter and all around the country. There will still be copper, gold, iron ore and other critical minerals being mined as well, all over Australia. Just because there are ways to look after the environment better, it does not mean that anything has to change when it comes to mining, which in many ways our entire economy is heavily dependent on. Let me be very clear about that, Speaker. These new laws are about setting obligations for compliance, and I see no reason why any industry or business will be unable to meet the necessary compliance requirements while continuing to operate at their current capacity. In order to make better, fast decisions about the environment, we need to make sure that we are getting the best information possible. Getting good information about the environment is also vital if we want to keep track of our progress in meeting the goals that we have set. This is where the Head of Environment Information Australia will play an important role. This will be an independent position with legislative mandate to provide environmental data and information to EPA, the Minister and the public. This information will be extremely useful and will help to inform investment, policy and regulatory decisions by government, the private sector, community groups, academics, scientists and other groups who are focused on the environment. Having this position will also mean that there will be nowhere for governments to hide when it comes to how we're progressing with our environmental goals. Independent, consistent and authoritative environmental reporting will mean that no Australian government can hide the truth about the state of our environment. It also means that Australians will be kept in the loop by providing more transparency of the critical information and data that underpins the regulatory decision-making. As Australians, something that we are most proud of is our landscape and our environment, and that's something worth protecting. In my electorate, I have the biggest saltwater lake in the Southern Hemisphere in one part, beautiful vineyards and the Hunter Valley in another part, as well as some of the world's best horse studs. These wonders of nature have been able to coexist within the largest mining area in New South Wales. In the Hunter, we are proud to say we are known for wines, mines and equines. This is an ideal outcome, and this bill will help to make sure that more ideal outcomes will continue to be delivered. Speaker, this bill is common sense. It makes sure that the laws we make are being followed and that our goals are being met. And it helps us to have access to the best possible information to make this happen. It's about helping to make the right decisions faster. And it's all for a cause that I don't think anyone can disagree with, making sure we better look after the environment. I commend this bill to the House and thank you, Speaker.
I thank the honourable member for Hunter.